Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing just a simple get ready with me, and I've had a lot of questions about, hey, how was your wedding? How was your honeymoon? We want to hear about it. I haven't really told too many people about my honeymoon because it was the honeymoon from hell. I actually get a little bit of anxiety and PTSD when I talk about it, but everybody wants to know what happened, how we dealt with it, how we got home, all this other kind of stuff. So yeah, I just thought I'd sit down, do my makeup, say it once, put it on YouTube, and if anybody ever wants to ask me again, I can just be like, here's the link, leave me alone, okay? So if I don't mention any of the things that I'm using on my face, I will definitely have that all in the description box below. Before we get going, just remember that you like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that I'm doing, because I think after this story, you're probably going to want to hear part 2. Alrighty, so I've already washed my face, moisturized, all that kind of fun stuff. I just need to throw this hair up because it does not know what it's doing today. And that's just how it's going to have to live its life, is up in a ponytail. Okay, so my honeymoon. When I say my, I mean mine and my husband's, obviously, but come on, he's not here to share with you. I am. So, my honeymoon. We went to Myrtle Beach. Got to Myrtle Beach. No, that's not even where the story begins. The story begins on a Friday, and we left on a Saturday. So, Friday night. I didn't sleep Friday night because I was so excited to go on vacation, and I haven't been on vacation ever. So yay, I was excited to go on vacation. And Charlie didn't sleep because he doesn't travel a lot, and I've done a lot of traveling, so I'm just like, yeah, you get on the plane, you go to where you are and you have a good time, and then you come home. It's not a big deal. Him, on the other hand, I think he's only been on like a couple of bigger trips. So like, you know, New York, I think, would be his big trip. I don't even think he's ever been on a plane, so he had that little bit of stress. Either way, he didn't sleep the night before, and he was feeling sick. He was actually sick to his stomach, nauseous. And I didn't sleep the night before just because I was excited to go on vacation. And yeah, so our Friday night, no sleep. Saturday morning, my best friend was good enough to drive us to the airport. I don't remember what time. I haven't been on a plane since 2009, and Charlie's never been on a plane. And when I went on a plane in 2009, it was for a competition with a huge skating team. I didn't have to organize any of it. I just had to show up at the airport, hand them my luggage, and get on the plane. My coaches and managers told me where I needed to be and what I needed to do and all that stuff. And back then we didn't have all of these crazy lines because, you know, the world wasn't as scary back then. Now we do. And in the meantime, everything's automated now, so I didn't know that. And we go to the airport. We're trying to figure stuff out on the little thingy where it prints out your tickets or whatever the heck it does, and this man next to us is like, hey, I don't know how to scan my passport. Do you know how to scan your passport? And I'm like, no. This is my first time doing this too. Come on, let's learn together. So yeah, got that all figured out. That was a little stressful because we don't know everything that needs to happen at the airport. It's our first time. Things have changed in the last, oh my god, 10, 11, oh shit, I'm old, 11 years. And I'm a pretty quick decision person, and Charlie needs to think about it. So when I've made a decision, I'm like, okay, that's my decision, bye, and I'm gone. Whereas Charlie's like, what's the decision? Okay, let's think about it. Let's think about all the positives, all the negatives, all the different outcomes. And I'm just like, no, my brain already did that, and I don't want to think about all the different outcomes because it'll scare me, and I'll wind up not doing it. So we were kind of pissing each other off in the airport a little bit. Long story short, lots of long lines, slow lines, but eventually we make it onto our plane. I'm fine the whole morning. I'm just excited. Charlie's kind of sick and nauseous the whole morning. He's just stressed. So when we get on the plane, I'm thinking, I'm gonna calm down a little bit because I'm on the plane. I'm on my way. It's happening. I'm hoping Charlie's gonna calm down on the plane because we're on the plane, we're on our way, it's happening. Like, there's really no more stress as to like, get to the plane, you know, like, we're on our way, it's totally fine. We had one layover in Georgia, I think. So we get to Myrtle Beach, we grab an Uber to our hotel, which is about half hour, 45 minutes from the airport. And at that point, my stomach's calmed down, I'm fine, I'm just hungry, I want to get some food, kind of look through the hotel and the sights and everything and see where we are, and then go to bed and start our day tomorrow. Charlie's kind of putting on a brave face for me. I'm just sitting here talking. I'm gonna do some makeup. I'm thinking that Charlie's fine because he's not making a big deal about anything. He's just going on like a trooper. I'm thinking this is gonna be a great vacation. You're doing so well, Charlie. And by the time we get there and unpack, and then, you know, we look around the whole place. I'm like, oh, it's so pretty. I come out to the living room and he's kind of like hunched over on the couch, and I'm like, oh no, do you still not feel good? Can I get you anything? And he's like, no, let's just grab an Uber and go get some groceries, because it was a full kitchen, so all we had to do was get some groceries. We didn't do that in the first place. I was like, let's order us a pizza, get that through, like, just you stay here, relax, we'll order pizza, eat some food. If that makes you feel better, fantastic, we'll go to bed, and tomorrow we'll go get groceries and we'll do it all tomorrow. Let's just get you feeling better so that we can enjoy our vacation. Ordered pizza. I had to explain to them where my hotel was. They're like, oh, where is that? I'm like, I don't know, it's a hotel. Doesn't that kind of ring bells in your head that I don't know where I am? Because clearly I'm not at home. So Google the address I just fucking gave you. Thank you very much. And they're like, okay, it'll be there in like 45 minutes. Hang up on me. 20 minutes later, I get a phone call, and I'm like, okay, it's been 20 minutes. It's another 20 minutes and the pizza will be here, so I guess I'll go find the money and all that kind of stuff. Phone rings. Pick it up, it's a pizza place. I'm thinking they're just like confirming our address or something stupid. I don't know, we're in the States. Things could work differently than they do here in Canada. Answer the phone, they're like, hey, we don't deliver to you. I'm like, awesome, you couldn't figure that out when I called you the very first time and I had to explain to you where I am so that you could Google where I am, so you could see physically on your map where I am, and then 20 minutes later you decide that you don't deliver? Does your delivery guy just want to not go out anymore for the night because he's lazy? I don't know. Either way, I was really counting on that pizza just to get here and make Charlie's stomach feel better. It didn't, which meant that we waited all that time when we could have been getting groceries and then back with groceries and eating by now. So I order another Uber. We get in the freaking Uber and we head down to some grocery store. Like, we didn't even know we were going. We just hopped in the Uber and we were like, hey, the grocery store that we were asking you to take us to, good spot? And he's like, yeah, good spot, closest spot. I'm like, okay. So he drops us off there. Charlie's kind of doing this like back and forth thing where like he'll seem totally fine for like a good 20 minutes, and then for a half an hour he just feels and looks like death. And then he'll be fine, he'll be having a conversation, kind of got some ha-has going on, and then half an hour later he'll just like look and feel like death. So I'm just like, I don't really know what's going on, if he's actually feeling that terrible, or if he's just trying to keep himself calm so he doesn't feel terrible, or if he's really just not telling me how awful he feels. So by the time we get back to the hotel, he hasn't eaten or drank anything since Friday night, and it's now Saturday night. And he's getting the dry heaves. So I'm like, well, here's some soup, here's some tea, and I think he had maybe 3 sips of each, and I had to reheat it like 7 times just to keep it warm, just to be like, eat it, god damn it, eat it, get it in your body, I want to see you either puke or piss, one of them, because you haven't done either in a couple of days. And he just kind of sipped each. He didn't eat anything, he didn't sleep. Poor guy was like in tears at one point. He was in the bathtub just trying to like regulate his temperature, because now he's shivering and sweating because he hasn't eaten or drank or anything. He's in the bathtub he's in the bathtub sweating and dry heaving, and the poor guy, and I come in to check on him and I'm like, yeah, are you okay? And he's like, yeah, and I can tell like this guy's about to burst into tears. He just burst in tears, and I was like, no, don't you dare. You are not going to be sad on our honeymoon. That is not a fucking honeymoon. I literally ripped off whatever clothes I could and just hopped in the, I'm pretty sure I was still wearing my pants when I hopped in the bathtub with him, but either way, hopped in the bathtub, gave him a hug, and I was like, just stop crying. If you still feel terrible by tomorrow, we'll rent a car, we'll get another plane, I don't care. We'll go home immediately if that's what's gonna make you feel better, and we'll try again some other time. And that actually put him into more hysterics because I think he was expecting me to be like, no, I wanna stay. But like, honestly, like I almost said that. I was almost like, seriously, you can't just suck this up. Like, it's our only honeymoon. We don't even have to pay for it. Like, come on, like, don't make any decisions right now. But in the meantime, I'm like, you know what? I have been in the exact same position you are, and it's been over a span of 6 years that you've had to deal with my bullshit, and you've never given me a hard time or said no to anything. I just said I wanted to do this, or I need this, and it's always a something that's going to ruin the situation that we're in, and you've never said no, or I don't want to do that, or how an inconvenience you are to us. You were always just like, okay, let's do that. If that's going to make you feel better, let's do it. So that went through my head, and I'm like, there's no way I can give this guy a hard time. I'm like, hey, let's go home. And I think me just being so understanding to that, he was like, no, I want to try. I really want to try. I'm going to try and make it through tonight. I'm going to do everything I can to make myself feel better, and we'll make a decision tomorrow. I'm like, okay, that's no problem. We can do that. So yeah, I really couldn't ask that man to do anything that he didn't want to do at that point. Anyways, he wanted to tough it out, so I let him tough it out. I didn't really sleep that night because I was kind of up listening for him all night in case he was dry heaving, needed some water or something like that. You know, just worried about your husband. But then he left the room at 4 or 5 a.m., something like. So I'm thinking he's getting up. He's a little hungry. He wants some oatmeal or some tea or something. His stomach's starting to feel better. Yay! So I fall asleep, going like in my little, like, victory! We're gonna actually have a vacation. Now get some sleep so you can enjoy it yourself. I think I only slept for about 2 hours. Because it's not the darkest of hotel rooms. I need it like pitch black to sleep, and it was not. So as soon as the sun's up, so am I. So I get up at 7, probably 2 hours later, and he is sitting in the living room with a tea, and I'm like, yes! I come out and I'm like, oh, are you feeling better? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, have you had anything to eat or anything? Drink? He's like, no. I'm like, oh, you want me to make you some oatmeal? And he's like, no. So I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, fuck you. I'm making oatmeal that's for you. I'm going to say it's for me, but it's for you, and I'm going to keep offering you bites. So I made myself some oatmeal, maple cinnamon, and just kind of start nibbling away at it. And I'm like, how you doing? How you feeling? He's like, oh, not so great. How was your morning? What have you been doing? Oh, I've been looking up car prices and airplane prices. And I'm like, I see. So you're still feeling absolutely terrible and you want to go home, is what you're telling me. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's fine. What did you find? What he found, everything was the worst fucking option. Everything was the worst option. Okay. So I'm sure a lot of people know this. When you book a flight, you pay the extra $200 so that if you need to cancel your flight or change your flight or whatever, you can. It's your travel insurance, flight insurance, whatever the hell they want to call it. It's insurance for in case you want to change your plans. Since I didn't book any of my stuff, I didn't have the option of doing that, and my parents didn't do that because they know me. When I'm going somewhere, I'm determined. Even if I'm sick and dying, I'm staying there. So that wasn't an option. So instead we're like, well, we have to get home. Let's just Google whatever flight we can get. One layover to get to Myrtle Beach. I think it took like 10 hours or something to get to Myrtle. No, not even that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 hours to get to Myrtle Beach. To get home, it would have been 3 layovers, and it would have taken a total of 19 hours. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I could drive home in less than that, and it would probably cost us less. So Charlie looked up some car prices, thankfully, and he's like, since you're going to be the one driving, what would you like to drive? And I'm like, Not a little car, because, you know, they just get run over in every single situation, but I don't want this huge, massive, like, Hummer or something that's just gonna be really hard to control and drive and blah, 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 blah. Something that's gonna make it through America, nice, warm weather, and Canada, freezing rain, snow, because that's what we're about to be driving into. I looked at the weather and I'm like, fuck. Anyways. So Charlie books an SUV, and you know when you book cars, it's like you're going to be getting something like this or similar. It's never the car that you actually book. So we go down there, they're asking us, do you want, you know, the insurance and all that crap, and we're like, no, we don't even want to be paying for this right now. No, I'm not going to have an accident. I will drive the speed of a snail. Just give me the friggin' car and let me get out of here, because, you know, Charlie's the one who's dying, and Charlie's the one who has to pay for it all. So he's the one who has to do all the talking, and he's somehow just like motoring his way through. He's getting this all done, and then gets outside away from people, and he's like, oh my god, and then like he sees somebody and he's like, hello, how are you? Nice to meet you. You're a very nice man. Da 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 da. Here's the information. This is our job. Da da da. And as soon as he's gone, he's like, oh my god, oh. Like it was kind of like he didn't realize how much pain he was in until he buckled, and then you kind of were blown away by how well he's not showing his pain when he's with other people. Anyway, so long story short, after all the finagling with the car people, we got a Tahoe. Don't ever get a fucking Tahoe. Unless you're from Texas and you're 6'5", don't ever get a Tahoe, because the Tahoe was actually license plate out of Texas. But either way, I'm 5'10". My feet couldn't reach those pedals comfortably, and my arms couldn't reach the steering wheel comfortably. You couldn't move the pedals close enough to reach them comfortably. You couldn't move the seat close enough to reach the pedals comfortably. You couldn't move the steering wheel enough to sit it comfortably. So unfortunately, I had nowhere to rest my arms while driving, and nowhere to rest my heel while driving. So I was just towing it and floaty arms the entire time, to a point where my back was so fucking sore. I'm just grabbing the steering wheel and pulling myself up onto it so I can stretch out my back, but I still gotta have my toe like hovering on the freaking gas. Cruise control on this thing was a joke. You hit cruise and it's like, okay, we're cruising at 65, la la la, vroom, 80, and then you're like, ah, and then it slows right down, and you're like, why did you just do that, car? We're on a flat straightaway. I don't understand. So cruise control, not a thing. Especially when we got into Canada with snow and ice. Like, no, you don't want your car just like accelerating in the middle of an ice storm. That's stupid. Because then the person in front of you ain't going fast on their brakes. You try and hit their brakes and you slide right into their back seat. Not their DMs. Bad joke, I know. Anyways. So we get this terrible Tahoe, we're on our way home. The Tahoe, it only has American speeds in it, so in America that's fine, but as soon as I crossed the border, I had no idea how fast I was supposed to be going, so I just drove what felt right and got home. But Virginia sucks. That actually added an extra hour and a half onto our drive. Should have been home at 4:30 p.m. We didn't get home, 4:30 a.m., I'm sorry. We didn't get home until like 8 o'clock a.m. When we booked the car, we booked it for a day, 24 hours plus 2, just in case I needed to pull over and have a nap or something like that. I didn't. Every time I pulled over, I'm like, shit, lost 5 minutes. So I'd get in the car and I'd put my foot flat against that floor and I'd gain half an hour. I'm like, I'm getting home, I'm getting home, I'm getting home. Charlie, I think I just stopped 4 or 5 times for gas, and, you know, I stopped a couple times for food and pee, but we're getting close to the border, and I'm starting to not fall asleep, but I'm starting to feel myself get drowsy, and I'm like, I don't want to stop, I don't want to get a hotel or try and have a nap. There's only 5 hours left from the border, which I think we crossed in Buffalo to where we are, 5 hours, like, give or take traffic and all that kind of stupid stuff. So I didn't want to stop, so I pulled over to get gas, go pee, that kind of thing, and I stopped at 3 Tim Hortons. I'm like, we're close to the border, I just need a coffee or something just to keep me, and then I can make it home. Not a single goddamn Timmy's is open. Not one. Every gas station is there where you can self-pump, but you can't even go in to buy shit. Like, at least in Canada, we have 24-hour gas stations, and there's a coffee shop attached to it. Coffee shop attached to it is normally open. Timmy's. Either way, I couldn't get myself a coffee to save my life. And for those of you who know me, I do not drink coffee ever unless it's an absolute emergency. The last coffee I had, I was in college in 2012, okay? It's 2020 now. What's that tell you? I didn't get a coffee. I'm like, whatever, there's the border. Let's cross the border. We'll get good old Timmy's once we cross the border, because I know there's going to be one open in friggin' Canada. So we pull up. We're pulling up to the border. And Charlie turns to me, and I could have punched him in the face, to be honest with you. He's like, you know, now that we're getting closer to home, I'm starting to feel a lot better. And I'm like, ugh, that's good. Can we turn around since we haven't crossed the border and go back? Because we have the hotel till next Saturday. And like, I said it as a joke to him, but like, I was being honest. I really wanted to go back. I would have drove that extra 18 hours to get back, because like, ah! Anyways, he just kind of like, oh, no. And then we get up to the border, and the border dude, we're coming into Canada, so it's always French and English. So we come up, he's like, hello, bonjour, like the most French bonjour I have ever heard, to the point where we looked at each other and we almost cried. We were like, Canada, we miss you so much, we just wanted coffee. And he's looking at our passport, like our reaction to his hello, he was not expecting. So he's already looking at us like we're fucking crazy. We're like, oh my god, hi Canada. He's like, okay, here's our passports. And what are you guys doing? Why are you crossing at this time of night? You know, those kind of questions. And I'm like, it's an emergency trip home. Oh, so it was unplanned. Yeah, this isn't our car. Okay, we need the paperwork for the car. Okay, here's the paperwork for the car. Crossing the border, they're gonna ask you if you got any like booze or food or any of that junk, and they're gonna be looking for weapons and bombs and yada yada yada, so they want to see in your car. So it's at nighttime. Can you roll down your windows and turn on your interior light? Sure. In my mind, I'm thinking, sure, no problem. This isn't my car. I can't find where to roll down the goddamn window, so that takes a minute. And I'm like, oh, there it is. And I roll them down. And then he's like, okay, now turn the interior lights on. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around. I can't find the damn window button. And I look at him. I'm like, I don't know what to do. And he's like, open the door. And I'm like, oh my god. Oh yeah. And all the lights come on, because like my brain is not working at this point. I've been driving for 12 hours, I think, at this point. My GPS is like, yo, you'll be home in like 4 hours or something. Yes, I just want to get across this freaking border. So we get across the border, find myself a Timmy's, get myself a coffee, and we're on our way. Literally, we see the hello bonjour man. He checks our car. We drive a little bit further up. We pay the other man in the booth thingy to get across the border. We are across the border. I look at him, we literally high five. I look in front of me and I'm like, what the fuck? Blizzard. Right? Like, it's like, did they put the border there? They're like, this is where the snow stops, so this is where Canada starts? Like, what the hell? Yeah. Drove me nuts. Drove me up a wall, because I am driving so nicely in this Tahoe that I know is not going to do well in Canada, because it's a big old Tahoe with summer tires on it. So here we go into the snowstorm that was immediately after the ice storm. Yay! Once again, my car doesn't have Canadian kilometers on it. It's just got miles. So in America, everything's like 65 to 75. That's like, you're fast, right? Over here, it's like 80 to 100. So I don't know where that is. I'm just going by where the needle would normally be in my car. So like when I'm going 110, it's like that. Well, for you guys, it'd be like, you know, right there. But, you know, so that's where I kind of kept my needle, just like fingers crossed that that's what it's going to be like in every vehicle. Because over here in Canada, if you look at your car, they have the kilometers and then the miles underneath. They don't have that over in the States, big jerks. So, I'm driving home praying that I'm not speeding, and I just have to keep going slower and slower and slower because of the weather that we drove into. And the people that I'm getting stuck behind, you know, they're the kind that speed up and slow down and speed up and slow down and speed up and slow down. They can't just go one speed. They gotta like give that car in front of them some distance and then drive right up their ass, and then give them more distance and then drive right up their ass. I'm like, can you just pick a speed? We'll all just go one speed. equally spaced out. That was the thing that drove me nuts. Over here in Canada, we're all a bunch of fucking assholes when we drive. Over there in America, I get it. They have worse road rage than we do, but I think it's because they follow the rules a little bit more strictly than we do. Like, we even park or stop way too close to the crosswalks. I did that and somebody was honking their horn at me and giving me the hardest time. Like, what are you doing in the middle of the crosswalk? And I'm like, I'm not in the middle of the crosswalk. Like, yeah, I'm too close. I'm illegally too close right now. I legally should be further back. You are correct. But that's the only time I ever saw road rage, is when somebody broke a rule, not just because they were driving like idiots. Like, don't break the rules. There was a time when we were driving along and we were going so incredibly slow, but it never stopped, to the point where I'm like, what's going on? When there's an accident, it's normally like, you know, one lane's screwed and the other lane's going, and you gotta cut your way into that lane just to keep going. And it's a straightaway, no hills, nothing, but it's kind of rainy, so I hear that they hydroplane off the roads more than actually having bendy, turny ice accidents like we do over here. So when we finally get up to the front, I'm saying, oh, there is an accident. Look, Charlie, this entire left lane is blocked off for however far up it is up there. But traffic has not stopped because they're just zippering into each other. Why can't we do that in Canada? It's like left, right, left, right, left, right. Just kept letting each other in. Traffic never stopped. Canada, it's like, you know, 20 people go by and then one person will let one by. So everybody in the left lane's pissed off because they can't see. It's an accident. It's not construction. It's not like they give you a heads up like, yo, the lane's closed further ahead. It's a freaking accident. Therefore, all of us drivers got to work together and help each other out. So you guys are pissing me off, which means I'm going to cut you off and piss you off. You let me in, I'm going to be nice to you as well. Let's just work together. Can we be like Americans on the driving front? That's all I'm saying. Wow, that came out of my mouth. Either way, let's all be like Americans when we drive. So we come home to Canada and we just run into a bunch of friggin' idiots behind the wheel. And on top of that, I'm getting more frustrated because my GPS has said that I'm gonna be home in 45 minutes for 2 goddamn hours now. 2 hours, it said I'll be home in 45 minutes. And I've been driving for like 17 hours now. And my back is killing me, my arms are numb, my butt's numb, my feet, my leg, the cramps that I had from not being able to rest my foot on the floor were astronomical. I couldn't even describe them to you. I'm pretty sure my right side of my body was longer than the left side of my body by the time we got home. So we get home, I think it's 7:30 or 8 or something, and we unload the car and everything, and I'm thinking, upstairs, sit down. Have a drink, like hot chocolate, I don't know, something yummy that's gonna make me feel good and happy, and then get my ass to bed. Get home. Charlie is actually feeling better. Once we crossed the border, he started to feel so much better that he actually fell asleep in the car, because on the way home in the States, he didn't sleep. His eyes would roll back in his head and he'd lose consciousness. It was actually kind of scary. One of the reasons I put my foot down and wanted to get him home, because I am not paying American hospital bills. I'll come back to Canada, we're free. So now that he's felt better, he slept a little bit. So by the time we got home, I am just like a bag of dicks at this point. And he's like, oh, well, how about I take the car back for us? I'll go pick up the dog and I'll have my dad drop me off and you just stay here and rest. And I'm like, okay. I had no energy to argue. I was like, whatever, if that's what you want to do and get it all done with just so that we can be done, fine. So he goes and he does all that. I'm thinking I'm gonna I'm home and no, it didn't happen. Charlie doesn't drive a lot. I'm the initial driver. He, you know, like he's grown up in the city. He didn't have to. I grew up in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. You start driving when you're 12 or you don't go anywhere. So I'm a very comfortable driver. Nothing really scares me, whereas some things do scare him. You know, like he's still a little uncomfortable driving in snow and driving bigger vehicles at night. And this is a bigger vehicle in the snow. I know how it's handling, so I already don't want him driving it, but whatever. Go do your thing, we'll get it back. He returns it. We find out that I had got home in such a good amount of time that they cut our cost in half, so yay, because we already couldn't afford to rent that freaking car as it was. Plus, I wasn't happy paying that much for it, considering how shit of a car it is. Anyways, So he goes and he does all that stuff, and he comes back with our lovely little doggy, who was just so excited to see us, even though we'd only been gone for like away from her 48 hours, I think, because we dropped her off the night before. That's a dark brow. Oh well. So she comes home, she's just so happy. We decide, I didn't sleep because I was worried about his driving. I didn't want him to get into an accident. It's like the roads were really bad. Anybody would have been worried about their spouse driving that day, whether they were a good driver or not, whether they were in a good car or not. It was just a shit day for driving, but he did it, yay. Comes home with the dog. We have our I missed you moments, and we decide we're gonna have a shower and try and wash all the gross, disgusting travel off of us, because we traveled to Myrtle Beach and we didn't have a shower because he was sick and I was taking, well, he had a bath, but we're like sick, taking care of him. When you're sick, you kind of get the cold sweats, So we didn't wash the Myrtle Beach travel off, and then we didn't, or sorry, the plane travel off, and then we didn't wash the car travel off. So Charlie wants to wash the car travel off. I get it. He hops in the shower and I'll be right in behind you, I just gotta pee. And by the time I'm done peeing, I'm thinking like, listen, I really need a shower, but I do not have the physical strength to stand up in that shower because my back, legs, and arms are so sore from driving that stupid car the way that I had to. And I don't want to kneel in the shower because I don't want to get my hair wet, because there's so much of it. It's like going to bed with a wet mop on your head and then you wake up with wet pillow, you feel sweaty, and your whole bed's just like wet and mildewy for the rest of the day, and then it stinks when you go to the bed the next night. It's just not a good time. So I'm like, listen, Charlie, do not want to have a shower right now. I'm just going to lay on this bathroom floor and take advantage of the nice steam that you're creating to relax for bed. He's like, cool, no problem, I'll help you to bed when I get out. So I'm in the bathroom, hanging out on the floor, he's having his shower. We have no music on or anything because we don't want to. We're tired. We don't want to turn on extra things to turn on extra things. Okay, so I'm on the floor enjoying the steam. It's fantastic. He's like, I'll help you when we get out. I'm laying on the floor for, I don't know, like a minute or two, and Charlie's just in the shower doing his thing. The dog's just laying next to me. And all of a sudden I'm like, Charlie, do you hear voices? And he's like, no. I'm like, no, really, I can hear talking. And he's like, no, it's just the TV or something. I'm like, no, we didn't turn the TV on. He's like, you're hearing a radio or something. I'm like, we didn't turn anything on. Please go check our apartment. Like, I'm scared. There's somebody in our apartment. Poor guy. And he's like, yeah, sure, okay, fine, I'll go check, because he's, you know, the wonderful husband. And he goes out and he checks and he's looking around and he's like, comes back. He literally had to get out of the shower, dry him off, go check to get back in the shower. But either way, he comes back. He's like, yeah, you're crazy. There's nobody here. And I'm like, okay, I'll just be down here until it's bedtime. He's like, all right. He steps in the shower. And 10 seconds later, am I like, do you hear that? He's like, hear what? And I'm like, seriously, you don't hear music playing or anything? He's like, no, I think you're losing it. I'm like, no, Charlie, I'm not losing it. I swear to God, I hear music. And he's like, all right, fine. What do you hear? And I'm like, I hear the intro to Caddyshack. And he's like, well, that's strange. I'm like, why? He's like, because that's what's playing in my head. And I'm like, oh my God, put me to bed. I'm hearing your thoughts now, including mine. I'm done with this. I just want to go to bed. I'm done with this whole vacation fiasco, hell, experience, whatever you want to call it. I was done with it. I just wanted to go to bed. In the meantime, for about a week before our honeymoon, I had been battling off this cold. It really wanted to make me sick. It really wanted to give me a head and chest cold, cough the whole time. And I'm just like, no, that's not happening. Here's your vitamin C, here's your sun, here's your fruit and vegetables. And I was kind of winning. I'm like, all right, yeah, this isn't gonna hit me. It's fine. And then we kept getting closer and closer to our honeymoon, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. I'm gonna get to a warmer climate where, you know, the cold isn't going to be so persistent on me. I'm not gonna have to battle this cold for so long. I'm gonna be in a place where I don't have to work, I don't have to do anything. I can just chill and not have any stress. I can just get better. That's what I'm looking forward to. And in the meantime, we get there, and the day that I'm thinking I'm going to be able to distress is the day where I get like all the stress thrown at me, and I'm awake for 3 days, and I'm driving, and I'm barely eating, and all these things. So when we finally get home and I finally put my ass to bed, I wake up, I don't know, it's 6 p.m. or something. I sit up and I can't breathe. My head is so full, my chest is so full, my arms are dead, my back is dead, my legs are dead, my butt is dead, everything's dead from how I had to drive that vehicle. My entire body's dead from the lack of sleep and food and the sick that I was already trying to put me through. And so I get up and Charlie's already up and I'm like, hey, how you feeling? And he's like, yeah, I feel fine. And I'm like, great, I'm sicker than a goddamn dog. And he's like, oh no, my poor baby, I'll take care of you. You took such good care of me. There was no judgment. There was no, you know, pushback on your part at all. I was sick and said I wanted to come home and you took me home. My poor baby is now sick now. I'll do anything to take care of you and make you feel better until you're better. And I'm like, oh, what a sweet man. And he did. He did everything that he could to take care of me and make me feel better that day, because the next morning when we woke up, he was sick too. He was sicker than I was. He was only sick for about 3 days. I, on the other hand, was sick for 6 to 8 weeks. About, you know, somewhere in there. And it was, it's not like I was mad at him or anything, but he was still very apologetic the whole time I'm sick. He's like, I'm sorry, you never would have got sick if it wasn't for me, and yada, yada, yada. And I wasn't blaming him or mad at him or anything, but we are just such big goofballs to each other. It's how we get through our nonsense. So I did the whole pregnant lady thing. I was like, you did this to me! Anytime I would ask him for something, he'd be like, hey, in just a minute. I'm like, no, I want it now because you did this to me. And he would go get it for me. So that's, yeah. That's how we got through our nonsense. Yeah, there was a lot of horrible little bits in between all of the stuff that went down as well, but to be honest with you, you do not need all of that in this video. I do not need to dive into all of that in this video because I'm pretty sure by the end of it I would just have to be like checked into a mental ward or something, because just thinking about it I'm like it's the worst time of my life. I just wanted a vacation that I'd never had before, and instead I had like torture. Oh well, what can you do? We were really upset while we were there as well because we didn't have to pay for any of it, and then all of a sudden we're taking off home, and it, like I was in such a state of like, I just need to get him home and get him feeling better. I didn't even think to call any of the people who actually booked our stuff for us to be like, hey, we're going home, we're coming home, can you cancel it, can you get your money back, any of that stuff. I was just like, shit in the suitcase, stuff in the car, including the husband, get him home, we'll deal with it then. So we didn't actually tell anybody that we were home until Wednesday. So we drove home on a Sunday. Yeah, drove home on a Sunday. It's now Monday. We're just kind of like being ourselves, sleeping. Wednesday I wake up and I'm just like, huh. I never actually like told anybody that we're here. The only person that we told that we were coming home was my best friend, my maid of honor, Helen, just to be like, yo, this isn't working out, we're really sick, we're on our way home, just so you know, this is what's happening. We just want someone to know where we are. She's like, okay, yeah, totally, I get it. Why don't you book a plane? She's trying to be all helpful with all these decisions, and I'm like, don't give us any more options, we're just coming home, we got a car, we'll be there, that's just, know that we're coming home, that's all I need you to be. And she's like, okay. And then when we got home, we're like, we're home, we're alive, that's all you need to know, let us recuperate. And she's like, okay. So we're home, we're recuperating, our friend knows where we are, we have our dog home, Charlie's parents know where we are because they had our dog, but my parents still don't know where we are, and that didn't dawn on me until Wednesday. So Wednesday I wake up and I'm just kind of like, you know, a zombie the entire time, and I'm like, I didn't tell my parents that we came home, maybe I should give them a little heads up just in case like they still can cancel our flight, because even though we didn't use the hotel or anything, the flight's not until Saturday and it's Wednesday. So, you know, give them a call, see what we can do. So we gave them a call, and I'm like, really sorry we didn't call you to tell you that we were coming home, but I was in distress and just wanted to get home, and this was the simplest way, as opposed to playing phone tag and you dealing with planes and trying to get da-da-da-da. We just wanted to come home. She's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. So she called about the flight and got the flight and all that kind of stuff. Figured out. I didn't have to do that. Like, when I have to do that kind of stuff, that's when I get stressed. If I have to do it all by myself, fine. If I have to tell somebody what I need and wait for them to do it so that they can ask me questions, so that they can continue on, so that they can ask me more questions, so that they continue on, that stresses me out. I'm like, just let me do it. I'll have all the questions when they ask them, as opposed to phone tag waiting game. But I never did tell my aunt who paid for our actual honeymoon, like the hotel and all that kind of stuff, because I felt really bad, you know, that we even had to cancel and come home. And then I felt really bad that I didn't give her a heads up that we were leaving when we left. And now it's Wednesday and I'm feeling even worse because now I've been home for days and I didn't even have the courtesy to call her. So when I told my mom on the Wednesday, hey, I haven't even called Auntie, what do I do? And she's like, well, don't feel bad about not calling Auntie. She's having her own issues right now and she would probably appreciate having a little bit of time to deal with her issues. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. But when the time comes around, what do I tell Auntie? And she's like, I don't know, we'll figure it out when that time comes. And I'm like, okay. So Auntie still doesn't know. Auntie, if you're watching this, I'm really sorry, but it really was the honeymoon from hell. We appreciated it. The apartment was beautiful. The beach was beautiful. The sunsets were beautiful. The people were beautiful. Everything was great. Just Charlie's body was trying to kill him, so we had to come home. And, you know, knowing what she was going through, I didn't want to put here's another negative on your plate, you know, just let her be her. So I'm sure Auntie will find out one of these days soon. I have popped on some mascara. I don't know if you guys can see. I keep moving back like further and further from the camera, like I'm scared of you guys. But okay, so I have my eyes done. I used the Tati Volume 1 because duh. That was my trip for my honeymoon. It was horrifying. It was scary because I didn't know what was wrong with my husband. I didn't know how to help my husband. And I also didn't know what options there were to help my husband via hospitals and all that kind of stuff because we're in a different country and I didn't set up any of the insurances and he was too sick to even ask those kind of stupid questions. So, okay guys, so this is the finished look. Sorry about the absolute crazy hair, but what can you do? I'm a ginger, it's curls, it's wintertime. I am not going outside with wet hair. I am not spending a lot of time on my hair because the second you're out, it's Frizzball. So no thank you. If you guys like this look, give me a thumbs up. If you guys like my story, give me a thumbs up. If you guys want to hear about my super interesting Uber drivers, give me a thumbs up. But make sure y'all like and subscribe because, oh my god, I just said y'all. I think I said it before anyways, but I'm just finding I giggle a little bit now when I say it because it makes me think of, anyways, yeah. Like and subscribe so that you don't miss anything that I'm doing, and let me know down in the comments what you thought about this video, if you want to see more videos like this, or if I should just shut my mouth and stick to makeup. But hey, I'm having fun telling you guys stories. I'm having fun just being my regular self on here, as opposed to like, here is your robot, this is your makeup, this is what I think, this is how you apply it, and that doesn't compute to me, okay? That's actually more difficult than me just sitting here and like doing a full face of makeup and telling you what I'm using and how I'm using it while I tell you an interesting story, because I could talk until I die. I just got stories, I got information, and yeah. So if you guys enjoyed this, please tell me that you did, and if you didn't enjoy it, too bad. I'm probably gonna do it again. My name's Kelly. I never say it at the beginning of my videos because I'm pretty sure it says it on my channel, but either way, hi, I'm Kelly. That's all you need to know. That was my story on Myrtle Beach on my honeymoon with my husband. We had a terrible time. We are not upset about it because, yeah, we're upset about it. We didn't get to have a honeymoon, but at the same time, we are not too upset about it. We didn't lose any money. We lost some time, yeah, big deal, but at the same time, I think it was kind of a proof of love, you know, like we didn't need the proof, but it was just a little more proof. I don't think he really got that from me ever. I always got that from him, where I needed something and he would just be able to give it to me. And since I was so sick for so long, I've never been able to give that to him. It was really nice to be in his shoes for a change, to be like, you're extremely sick and you can't take care of yourself, but I can. I will do it. I will do anything I can. He came home, I think like a week later, he was like, I don't know if I actually thanked you, but like, holy shit, thank you, because I don't think I would have been able to do that drive. I'd have made like 5 hours and had to pull over for 5 hours and then just been doing that. I wouldn't have been able to do it. And the fact that I just didn't care, you know, like he's like, I need to go home, and I'm like, okay, let's go home. Like the no fight, nothing he didn't have to experience. Either way, honeymoon from hell was an experience. It was a learning experience. We now know how the plane works, how to get through the airport. We now know how Uber works because we had never used Uber before. And we now know to not go, so just like start traveling small distances until we can work ourselves up to the big distances, until, you know, we're both ready for that really big trip together. Yeah, if you want to hear about the other stuff, you know what I said, like, subscribe, here we go. Enjoy, you guys. I did. I hope you really like this look. I really like this look. It's not really matching the rest of my body because I'm fake tanned, I'm bruised, I'm a naturally pale person, and all those things. Anyways, thanks so much, you guys. I missed you guys. I'm really glad I'm back. I think this is the 3rd video that I'm going to be uploading of me being back, and it's just going to keep going up from here. So I'll see you guys later. Have a really good day, and love you lots.